Whilst there will be a few showers around this evening, for most of us it will be dry for a few hours, but out towards the north and the west we have got the next frontal system pushing in, so another spell of fairly wet and windy weather arriving through the course of tonight and into Sunday. Following the cold front there'll be some heavy blustery showers for the north and west on Sunday. So out and about this evening, there are some showers around, but the clearer skies will become more lengthy through the course of this evening, particularly across England and Wales, and it's here where we like to see temperatures fall away the quickest. So a fairly widespread frost developing through the early hours, particularly across the southeast of England, where we could see temperatures fall below freezing in the countryside. But the north and west, though, the winds will start to freshen, and actually across the northwest of Scotland we'll see some gale force winds developing later in the night, as well as some outbreaks of rain pushing in. So the best of the weather first thing on Sunday will be across the Midlands, eastern and southeastern parts of England. Plenty of sunshine first thing, albeit cold with some frost in places. A damp start today for parts of West Wales and quite wet across northwest England, parts of Scotland, with some snow across the highest ground just for a time before it turns back to rain. And quite windy conditions here as well, so fairly unpleasant driving conditions and also feeling on the chilly side. Following the rain, we'll see the skies brighten across most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but the winds will pack in some fairly frequent and heavy blustery showers, these containing some hail and the odd rumble of thunder perhaps, and turning colder through the day, so the showers turning increasingly to snow across the higher ground. England and Wales will see quite a cloudy and damp day, bits and pieces of rain off and on, but not an entirely wet day, and the very far southeast could stay largely dry until after dark. Temperatures will be up compared to today and perhaps reaching highs of 11 or 12 degrees in places. Frequent showers though through tomorrow evening, and those will last into the early hours of Monday morning as well. Another band of rain pushing northeastwards on Monday, but then actually through Tuesday and Wednesday we'll see high pressure build, lots of sunshine by day and temperatures are on.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50. plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good evening, it's Saturday night and this is the Saturday 5. It's the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Alex Armstrong alongside Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
Louis Theroux has done the adolescence routine.
Jews are under attack.
Should Muslim kids get special privileges at school?
We should cancel the royal visit because of Trump. And Rachel Reeves should bet the house with the EU.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Yes, welcome to the show, everybody. I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. It feels like I've not been on the show for ages, doesn't it? It really does. So much has happened since then. We've got World War III, we've got the Mandelson files have dropped. You really just can't make up what 2 weeks is.
Trey has become more Lib Dem.
Yeah, I don't think that's just
more wise.
It? That's it.
More wise.
Kai, you still visiting beavers?
Yes, absolutely, every night.
That would be a first, wouldn't it? That really would be a first. Listen, I love hearing your views. gbnews.com/your say. Get your questions in. And while you're there, of course, at 8 o'clock, we do Ask the Five. That means you can ask any of these lovely people here what you want, provided it's within the boundaries, of course. So keep it short, keep it sane, and write it in to gbnews.com/your say. We've got a cracking show lined up for you. But before we get stuck in, here's your Saturday night news with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you, and good evening. It's 1 minute past 6. These are your headlines. President Donald Trump has called on the UK and other nations to join the US in sending ships to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. It's after Trump said US strikes have obliterated military targets on Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal. Iran has retaliated, targeting one of the Middle East's largest oil storage facilities in the UAE. The drone was intercepted but still hit the site, causing a fire, and some operations have been suspended. Meanwhile, Israel is continuing to attack Lebanon. At least 12 medics have been killed in overnight strikes. 3 members of Iraq's military have been killed when an Iranian missile hit the US embassy in Baghdad. The Chancellor is preparing to offer targeted support to protect poorer households from rising energy bills. The cost of heating oil has soared by 80% in a week following the global impact of the war in the Middle East. Speaking to the Times newspaper, Rachel Reeves said the Treasury is looking at different options to help the most vulnerable when the current price cap expires in June. In other news, a woman has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a baby died when it fell from a height in central London. Officers attended Horseferry Road this morning and the baby, aged just 18 days old, was taken to hospital where she was sadly pronounced dead. A 43-year-old woman has now been arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder. She was taken into police custody where she remains. The Met has asked witnesses to come forward. Elsewhere, West Midlands Police have issued an urgent appeal for information after a man was found dead in a wheelie bin in Coventry. The man, who has not yet been identified, was found by a member of the public in Cashers Park yesterday evening. It's believed he may have been hit by a vehicle before being moved to the park. The man is thought to be aged between 40 and 50. Now, a Labour council has been criticised for spending £3.8 million on a 197-metre cycle lane. That's according to reports in The Telegraph. The route in Plymstock in Devon was branded a waste of money by residents who are demanding the scheme be scrapped. Plymouth City Council plans to drill through a disused railway tunnel to create the lane, which will link two existing bicycle routes. However, critics have branded the scheme a vanity project and predict it will not be widely used. An average of only 11 cyclists a day use the current route. That's according to data disclosed by a Freedom of Information request. Labour has announced tough new measures that could see drivers stripped of their licences for dumping rubbish along the side of UK roads. Drivers caught fly tipping rubbish on roads and streets could soon face tougher penalties under new proposals launched by the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Drivers found guilty of dumping waste illegally could be hit with penalty points on their driving licences, pushing repeat offenders towards the 12-point threshold that could see them disqualified from driving altogether. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Of course, it's Saturday night, and you're, of course, with the Saturday 5. Of course, again, over the next 3 hours, we're going to have the biggest debates, the hottest topics, and entertaining interviews. Shall we get started with our first debate this evening, shall we? Renee, over to you.
I'm going to do it, Alex. I'm sorry. I decided it was interesting enough. OK, so, seriously, though, never again is happening again, and the world is looking away. In just a few months, we've seen attacks directed at Jews in countries across Europe, the USA, Canada, bombs thrown at school last night in Amsterdam, gunmen shooting worshippers in Manchester, cars driven into synagogues in the States. The pattern is clear. Jews are being hunted. They're scared. They go to synagogue and schools behind security guards. They try to protect themselves as best they can, just as they did in pre-World War II Germany, where such pervasive societal hate culminated in Kristallnacht. 7,000 Jewish businesses destroyed, 30,000 Jewish men rounded up, and those that survived the night were shipped to die in concentration camps. Turning a blind eye ended with the deaths of 6 million Jews, with the world saying, never again. Well, never again has never been closer to being just again. Again, Jews are being hunted for the crime of their birth. And the liberal left are facilitating the hatred. For 3 years now, Western countries have accepted hates marching across the streets of Europe, and the West screaming from the river to the sea, and globalise the intifada. Globalise the intifada is what happened in Manchester, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Michigan, Liège, and so many more. It's time for the liberal left to take the covers off their eyes, their fingers out of their ears before it's too late, and there is only one group left.
Yeah, I certainly concur. It is an absolutely shocking state of affairs that the world has been left in as a result of not wanting to talk about radical Islam. That is the problem. We have multiple Western countries around the world, thanks to the left, who've become more and more censorious over the years. People like your parties, Kai, on the left, have told us we can't talk about radical Islam because it's against societal norms, because we will be accused of being racist, Islamophobic, when actually even Muslims are the most likely group to be subjugated by radical Islam. Why does this happen?
But that's not true, Alex, is it? Because you accuse my party. I'm a member of the Labour Party, as you know. Yeah. This Labour Party has brought in the social cohesion plan, which I know lots of people wanted to focus on the anti-Muslim hostilities are, when in fact the key focus of that plan was a raft of measures that call Islamism one of the biggest extremism.
That's only one part of it. What about monitoring kids
in the country? In the country,
part of the society.
And it was welcomed by the Board of Deputies of British Jews cautiously. Yeah. It's true, because over 500% increase in crimes against Jews. The left does need to take its hands from over its ears. I completely agree with you, Renee, and I think this government should buck the trend of what it's done in the past, which is to not act until it's too late. It needs to go further, but to say that the Labour Party is doing nothing for Jews is just not true.
But it's one foot in, one foot out. It's saying, like, we're not going to do this, but we're going to do this. The EU just, I think, have started proposing a Christianophobia definition, Trey. It seems like whatever's happening here is that the entire West is having to move to some sort of blasphemy laws because everyone is being attacked by everybody.
Do you know, I'm going to say something probably that's a bit more controversial. I actually think some of it is a blowback from the Islamophobia that's happening. Because if you think it's not just the left, a lot of this is coming from the right. People like Nick Fuentes, there's a lot of people now who are openly blaming the Jews for absolutely everything. The minute you start targeting Islam, you're actually targeting Judaism as well. The minute you start targeting halal, you're going to target kosher. People don't get it. The minute you normalise this kind of hate-filled speech,
Look, do you know
it
what?
goes across the board. That's the problem.
There is a degree that some of those people on the very far right are absolutely doing that. You're right. But the main bit of this is the liberal left who think that it would be lovely for queers to live in Palestine because they think
let's get to Will. Will, is there a problem on the far right of anti-Israel, anti-Semitic rhetoric and attacks?
Yes, there is. But at the same time, I think it pales in comparison to the threat to Judaism from Islam. And the real problem is the liberal left, which is embodied in the civil service and the institutions of this country, just don't seem to care. There was data that came out today that said that attacks against Jews are prosecuted twice, or attacks against Muslims are prosecuted twice as much as attacks against Jews when it comes to hate crimes. There is an institutional bias towards Muslims and against Jews in this country, and that is something that needs to be addressed, or else this will only continue.
And the last time that happened in Germany, we ended up with World War III and 6 million Jews dying. That data that you talk about, Will, if you actually break that down, if you're Jewish, you have 76% less likely chance that a crime against you will be prosecuted than if you were Muslim. It is disgusting, and it's because we don't want to talk about it.
We are talking about it.
No, it's the only acceptable racism. Imagine that do Muslims have to send their children to school behind security guards? Because I can tell you
they are increasingly.
Nonsense.
They are.
Nonsense.
It is literally true.
Is it fair? And maybe we can have a discussion about whether it's a fair argument to say for decades, and I would say for the last 20 years, up until very recently, talking about these cultural issues has led to a lot of cultural problems in Britain, and it has allowed the rise of Islamism in Britain to become more and more dangerous and radicalised.
Yeah, completely. There's been a total lack of a nuanced debate on the left to discuss the pros and cons of immigration, the fact that the scale and speed of the immigration we've seen is not the same as the kinds of immigration that the left like to praise and laud and talk about. There's not been a nuanced debate on that, right? But we need to continue to have a nuanced debate here, right? Things like what Renee just said about protests. Some people want to ban protests entirely, like the Palestinian protests. I don't think that's the view of this panel, but you end up, the worry I have is if we focus on, if the vast majority of Muslims who don't want harm to Jews at all think this is abhorrent, if we then tar them all with the same brush, we end up with nobody winning because anti-Muslim hostility is going up as well as anti-Semitism. Everybody's blaming each other.
Kai, do you think that one religious group in this country is promoting a significantly higher risk of violence than other religious groups?
Yes, I think so. I agree with what the social cohesion plan said. I mean, Islamism is the biggest threat. It's the biggest source of referrals to prevent, for instance. It results in the most prosecutions in terms of extremist content and terrorist attacks that were foiled.
This week, there was a survey that came out of Germany that 40% of Muslims thought October the 7th was a freedom fight.
But if you look at that, you can see there's a clear link between some Muslims and the actions of Israel. It's different. But if you look at the history of anti-Semitism, most of it has been Christian. You know, if you look at all the pogroms, look at all the countries that Jews were expelled from. You just mentioned Germany there. It wasn't Muslims that butchered 6 million. It was Christians. A lot of the danger for Jews is actually coming from right-wing Christians. I know, but what I'm saying, it's still fanning this flame like Muslims are responsible for everything. It's exactly what people do with Jews.
Most of the violence, not all of it. What happened after World War II is the West went through a Reformation period of saying, actually, we want to treat all religions equally. We don't actually want these societies where other religions religious groups are persecuted. However, I don't believe that, and I think and I've been saying this very, very openly the last few weeks, there is a growing worry, and I've been saying this for a long time, actually, Carl, I think we had a discussion about this. The far right in Britain and in America and in the West are also responsible for the same talking points. Politics is a horseshoe, and the radicals always sit on the bottom. They love identity politics. They love putting a label on people, and they love saying that all this group bad, me good, which is never true. However, the biggest threat to Jewish people and to our society on terrorism is from radical Islam, and we have to be honest about that, as has been reported on, but even by the government now.
Yeah, no, Alex, you're totally right. I was reading today about a report by Charlotte Littlewood, who highlights exactly this. She's an extremism researcher, and she says the Muslim Brotherhood for a long time have used anti-Semitism as a strategic tool, and that she's worried that lots of those messaging points are now being aped, not just by the left, but also the right. Now, if the left look away because they don't want to be seen as offending Muslims or whatever, then actually, you know, they're really at risk of letting this go completely run roughshod, but also allowing the far right to gain a bit more purchase.
But this is the big difference between the far right and the left-wing parties in this country, in that the left-wing parties in this country are now beholden to the Muslim vote. They are now compromised in how they address these issues, because we've seen through Gorton and Denton and recent polling that they need to appease the Muslim vote, or else the Labor Party.
And what does Gorton and Denton show?
It has shown that if you don't promote a sectarian vision for how you want your party to appeal to particular sectarian groups, you will not win.
It just shows in order to get the votes of certain groups, you've got to speak and appeal to them. It's as simple as that.
That's right.
But come on, you're talking about 6% of the population. I mean, come on. I don't think you get it.
Trey, I'm sorry. You say this every week. 6% is irrelevant in our electoral system because that's not how we vote. So there are massive conurbations in this country, like Gorton and Denton, Birmingham, Manchester, lots of London. Why do you think we've got Sadiq Khan as the mayor? Where that 6% becomes 30%, like it was in Gorton and Denton.
So if you've got an MP appealing to, I don't know, black people in Brixton, would you not expect them to speak?
Do you think he's going to talk in
things that happened?
No, but
I just think I don't think what you get.
No, but Trey, beg your pardon. I think what you're sorry. Well, you've got similar names, haven't you? Sorry. What I think the point is, and the thing that worries me most about sectarian pandering, and particularly when you're campaigning in foreign languages, is how do British people understand what that party is standing for? If I did my entire political party was in a foreign language and all my material went out in a foreign language, which I could do if I wanted to, how would you know what I stood for?
So you think that hidden in that foreign language would be something sort of incendiary that goes against the British?
And it could be. And it could
be.
I
don't
come on, guys.
I don't think that.
You don't, do you?
I know, but it could be. But besides the point, it still shouldn't be the case that when you live in Britain and you work here and you pay your tax here, that British people should have to translate your election material.
But this is what I don't think.
But it was also in Gorton and Denton. Some of the things that the Greens put out, the messaging that they put out in Urdu was very different to what they put out in English.
Yeah.
And the comparisons they made in those foreign language videos were different to what they were putting out in the English.
That's always been done in the UK.
But where's the line is the question.
It's more than that.
It has not always been done in the UK.
It sends a very clear message that you are different, that you should be treated differently, and that you should receive certain different privileges to the rest of the country.
Right, let's leave it there. We've got a Great British giveaway now. It's your chance to drive away with a brand new 67 grand camper van and 25k in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
We want you to enjoy unlimited Great British getaways this year in your very own camper van. That's right, you could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, front dinette, and is worth over £67,000. So if you're travelling with family or holidaying with friends, you know you'll be staying in comfort. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. Make sure you don't miss out on a prize package worth over £92,000. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50 £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Right, listen, I'm up next, and I want to talk to you about this case where it seems Labour councillors are wanting special privileges for Muslim children in school during the month of Ramadan. That's going to be coming up after the break.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
This panel has been fighting during the break, and I just said to them, look, the cameras are off, guys. The audience can't hear this great debate. But anyway, listen, if you're just tuning in, where have you been? It's 6:20. Welcome back to the Saturday 5. We love hearing your thoughts, by the way. gbnews.com/yoursay. I haven't got time to read any out now, but I will do soon. So if you get them in now, I will have them ready by the top of the next break. So read them out, or we'll read them out. Put an Ask the Five if you want something specifically to be asked to one of our great panellists here tonight. But I'm going to take us in to the next debate. And it seems Muslim students might have a little bit of an easier ride during the month of Ramadan, because I don't think Muslim students should get off of detentions during this religious month of Ramadan. And that is what a Labour council is urging teachers. Lewisham Council, run by Labour, is seemingly bending over backwards with guidance from an Islamic centre that is led by an imam once branded an extremist by the courts for preaching jihad. They're telling schools to swap detentions for lunchtime ones, to set up prayer rooms and invite Muslim speakers in, and even teach kids about Ramadan to be more inclusive. Those last bits are fine, but getting off detentions just because you're from a specific race for after school, religion from after school, I don't think that's very inclusive, is it? What about Christian kids fasting for Lent, or Jewish kids during Yom Kippur? Do they get the same pass? No. This is selective sectarian pandering that is dividing or trying to divide our classrooms and, frankly, undermines British values. We have built a country under equality under the law, not special privileges based on your faith. This will only further tell young Muslim pupils that their faith is some kind of get-out-of-punishment card. That's not the kind of society we should want to live in. If we continue down this path, and Muslim kids grow up in Britain expecting to get special privileges simply based on their faith, we are headed to a serious cultural crisis. Trey, do you think anyone should get special privileges based on their faith, particularly kids at school?
Yes, then there's been precedent for it. Why not? And bear in mind, this is a guidance.
What's the precedent?
It wasn't that long ago there was an issue with the Orthodox community in Stamford Hill about them having these lines. Do you remember those wires, which was part of their religious, I can't remember what it was.
Exactly.
And everybody was up in arms. These are quite small things. I mean, what you're talking about here, I've just seen it. It's more of a guidance. It's not like a directive you must do. It's just understanding and having a bit of leeway for someone's faith.
Can I pick up on that term, quite small things? Because this is a term I've been thinking a lot about lately, or it's not a big deal. And you're right, Trey, in isolation, it isn't a big deal. But then when you add in stopping football matches, when you add in being forced to put your dog on a leash in a public park, when you add in all of these little small things, sooner or later you realise that your culture is under attack. And that is what we're seeing. And this is always the response from the left. It's just not a big deal. The thing is that these small little things continuously chip away at Britain and its culture. And that's what people are so angry about.
Can I put this to you, Kai? Because this is Labour pandering again. It's sectarianism, isn't it? And this is the one thing that your Prime Minister Keir Starmer accused the Green Party of, but they're just as guilty of it in your party. And I think even to some extent other parties are guilty of it too. However, do you think that based on a child's religious leanings, that they should have some special privileges for detention, for example?
Well, yeah. Should religious kids get 4 days off between the 2nd and the 9th of April, Alex?
Well, because for Easter...
For Passover.
They're bank holidays.
Well, they're bank holidays, but it's also an established British tradition. But I'm talking specifically about...
But there are other Jewish holidays that are bank holidays. And let me...
You're deflecting the point.
No, but I'm getting to a point, actually. I'm not allowed to make it.
Muslim kids and Jewish kids get that time off as well, so it's completely redundant what you're saying. What I'm asking you is, should, based on your faith, you get special privileges during a religious month like Ramadan?
Yes.
You should? Okay.
Yes.
Why?
And the guidance that was created by the Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education sets out quite nicely, actually, I think, for instance, for Passover, but other Jewish holidays, as well as Baha'i holidays, as well as Buddhist holidays, what is set down in the Education Act of 1996, the allowance for kids to have days off for religious observance. Now, on detention, you said they're dodging detention. In the same sentence, you point out quite rightly...
I didn't say the dodging detention.
You implied that they're not getting detention.
Right, we're going to prove it.
All right, let's get it up.
my script that I wrote on the way in here, we're going to find out where I said dodging detention.
No, go back up. Go back up, Alex.
We're going back up. Sorry, all of you at home here, we're just going through my script and we're going to find...
Shouldn't get detention during Ramadan.
That's
not true, is it, Alex?
That's
not true.
That's a question, and that's what I'm asking you, Kai. You're not answering.
No, and there's nobody...
rubbish quotes.
No, and I'll tell you. As you said,
the quote because it's wrong. I said specifically in there, and the audience watching at home are going to be waving their hands at the screen because you just made that up. They're getting detention during lunchtime, but not after.
Shouldn't get detention during Ramadan. The Labour Council is urging. Number one, they're not urging anybody. They're not urging anybody. It's an advisory piece of guidance that they have for other religions too. Number two, as you said, they're swapping.
I'm hosting the show. Stop.
I'm trying to answer.
Hang on, you're not. I want to answer you directly. The question was this. Do you think religious Any group of religious people,
yes.
children, pupils or otherwise, should get special privileges regarding detention during a religious month.
Yes.
Right. There we have it.
I answered it already, Alex.
Right. I don't think they should, because this country is not a country where we're mostly secular. I know we are a Christian country, but we're mostly secular, and we teach and we treat all children the same.
Can I ask
Do you not think that when those kids grow up, they're going to think because of their religion, they're going to get special privileges?
That's the key.
Can I just say that fasting, from this same guide, cultivates virtues, right? Maybe, for instance, piety, unity, moderation, discipline.
Whose view
should
is that?
we not?
Whose view is that?
Well, can you not see it? I mean, isn't that intuitive to fast during the day?
What do you think? Let's move on.
Would that not?
They're children. No children should be fasting.
But can I ask, should they get special dispensation, for instance, if they're feeling ill because of the fasting? Should they get class off? Should accommodations be made?
Alex hit on the key point at the end of that little comment, which was this sends a very clear message to Islamic students that you are different and you should be treated differently.
Special.
The whole problem that we've had with certain Islamic communities in this country is that they felt no need to integrate, and they felt that they can live by the customs and cultures of countries from which they've come from, many of which are not compatible with the customs and culture of the United Kingdom. This does nothing to say you are now part of the United Kingdom, you're now part of this school, you're now part of this society, and you run by the rules of that particular school. This just goes more in the other direction.
And can I just be clear? I would have the same view for Christians. I'd have the same view for Jewish kids. I'd have the same view for Hindu kids. I don't think any child should get... And the reason why detentions are important is that it's a punishment for not following the rules, which then they have to then carry through to the rest of their lives, and which is why I say you shouldn't get special privileges. I think this is should be a common value that we all share in Britain. I don't understand why that wouldn't be.
They still get detention.
During lunchtime, which is a far lesser punishment than losing your arm.
Do you know what?
Of course it is.
I feel quite confident that if we had Catherine Birbalsingh on here now, she would say absolutely not, because the rules of the school are what give discipline and virtue and all of those things that you gave. The rules of the school are there. If you want to fast, that's entirely up to you, but we are not changing the rules of our school for you.
It's not a question of want, though. This is one of the most sacred religious observances you can have in Islam.
And that's absolutely fine to observe.
So you'd have them break that.
Well, we have it in Judaism
it doesn't
as well,
matter.
And just like in the Education Act, lots of religions get to time off, for instance, which is similar enough. Get time off
society
during the term.
Handed to everyone's religions, rather than everyone coming together under a universal shared set of cultural values and beliefs. That is what multiculturalism was always supposed to be. What you guys are advocating for is for the opposite of that, which is the individual moments of time.
And here's the problem. It's entirely subjective. If I come out and say that I want to praise the Norse gods and all the kooky things that they believed in, what's to say that that isn't just as valid a belief as any other religious faith in this country at the moment?
Because the state sets out, the government sets out which religious bodies, We
have to move on. We have run over, unfortunately. Will, you're up next. What are you talking about?
I'm going to be talking about the Manosphere documentary from Louis Theroux. There were a couple of elephants in the room that he ignored. I'm most certainly not going to, after the break.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's unsettled across the Alps at the moment. Could see around a metre of snow falling through this weekend. Meanwhile, we do have some showery rain affecting both the Canaries and also Madeira. There's a bit of rain pushing into northern Portugal and Spain, but it's across western Mediterranean parts where we have rough seas, heavy rain affecting Corsica, Sardinia and Sicily, for example, and also showery rain affecting much of Italy as well. But into next week, for many, it's actually looking largely fine. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any showers should clear away across England and Wales through the course of this evening, but we will see further rain pushing into the north and the west overnight, and that's courtesy of this next frontal system. The isobars also tightening together, so we'll see the winds strengthen, spells of rain pushing eastwards on Sunday and then turning colder behind this cold front. But actually out there this evening, clear skies will allow temperatures to fall away quite quickly, so a fairly widespread frost across many parts of England and Wales, at least for a time. Out towards the north and west, though, it does turn much cloudier and breezier. We'll see gales developing across the west of Scotland later in the night, although those strong southerly winds will actually lift temperatures, so a frost-free start to the day here. Out towards eastern parts of England, though, is where we like to see the lowest temperatures to begin the day on Sunday. So a fairly widespread frost first thing in the countryside, but here we should see plenty of sunshine to begin the day. A lovely bright start to Mothering Sunday for many. We run into much thicker cloud, though, across the Midlands, Wales, northern England. Outbreaks of rain here, quite persistent in places. A little bit of snow across the highest ground of Scotland as well, but fairly unpleasant driving conditions with some fairly brisk south to southwesterly winds here. And as we go through the course of the day, any brightness across the East Anglia and South East will fade away, with cloud amounts thickening here and some showery rain through the afternoon. The rain mostly across the Midlands, northern England and down towards the southwest, though, through the middle part of the day, and then frequent blustery showers and sunny spells following to many other northwestern parts of the UK as we go through the afternoon. Some hail, some thunder mixed in, and certainly some snow across the higher ground, with temperatures falling down to 6 or 7 degrees by the end of the day. Some ice and some snow around across more northern parts of the UK to begin the day on Monday, but then further wet, windy and milder conditions spread up from the southwest through the day. The rain quite patchy in the south, but more prolonged further north. By Tuesday and Wednesday, though, high pressure will start to build, and for most, that does mean a much warmer and sunnier outlook. Bye for now.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB Loyalty Points is here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on Your Say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB Loyalty Points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Oh, it's been a fiery show, hasn't it? It really, really has. Welcome back to the Saturday 5. I hope you're enjoying yourselves at home. gbnews.com/your say indeed for your questions. I've got one here from Miss P. Miss P says, I'm so sick of the left treating Britain as though it's a multicultural free-for-all. We have hundreds of years of history on our own land, and yet we're being treated like outsiders. To be honest, it's becoming an ethnocide of our race, culture and beliefs. But this is the difficulty when we start talking about these things. It is really, really hard to find the balance here, but I think that's why we have to come around a shared set of values and beliefs and not pander to any religions. And that is why I feel this is such an important debate to have. And we will continue having it here on GB News, probably the only channel broadcasting that will. All right, look, now it's time for our next debate. Will is up next. Will, take it away.
Thanks, Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, I watched the latest Louis Theroux documentary last night, Inside the Manosphere. We've got a clip of the trailer. Let's watch it.
What, do I not talk to them? Don't talk to him? Talk to you.
We're not on social media now. What would you say is the message?
I coach boys how to make money.
Wow, this is a nice spot.
How to be outside the system. How to be proper guys.
Shut up, Bernardo.
Look, it was fine. It was classic Louis Theroux fare. Find a group, as you can see, that is already very easy to hate, in this case sexist right-wing grifters. Give them just enough rope so they hang themselves, and then watch the camera with mock incredulity as mid-wit Lib Dem types look back at you and you both feel morally superior together. Fine, I've got no problem with that. In fact, he's built a career on it. But what I thought was most revealing about the documentary was not anything that was said on camera, it was what was left unsaid. The elephants in the room by the end of the documentary were very clearly in view. So here were the uncomfortable truths that Louis did not want to touch in his documentary. The first was that there were many women throughout the course of the documentary who were seen to be enabling these men and who seemed to be very comfortable enabling these so-called misogynistic men for the money and the clout that they gave him. But that doesn't fit the liberal establishment narrative for which Louis Theroux is a secular god. The second thing is that Louis didn't want to touch why so many young teenagers, young boys, are so keen to follow people like Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate. Because again, that will call into question the entire liberal establishment worldview that Louis has championed for so long. Specifically, that young white boys have been called toxically masculine for decades now, and they've been forced to seek false prophets like the Andrew Tates of this world. But of course, and we have touched on this tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the real cowardice of Louis Theroux is that he doesn't touch the real groups that are responsible for most of the institutional misogyny in this country, and that is radical Islam. For once, I would like to see him actually touch a legitimately controversial, difficult target, like the grooming gangs, for example, but he won't go there because that would call into question the liberal elite for which he has done more to champion. That is the problem, the cowardice of this documentary for what went unsaid.
All right, Trey, over to you.
I'm so bored of hearing Muslims being blamed for absolutely everything. I agreed with some of what you said. I mean, radical Islam being blamed for what?
For the vast majority of the institutional misogyny in this country.
How? Explain. Make that make sense.
Because the Islamic faith, and particularly people who take a doctrinaire view of the Islamic faith, believe that women are second-class citizens. You can see that in every single country for which Islam is the state religion.
So you don't think... I want to stick to the theme, but I think we should just move this on a little bit to think about how the left, in my opinion, would be more to blame for this. We have been told for years and years and years about toxic masculinity, feminism, men's just natural being, mansplaining. Men have been told to be silent, to be told to shut up, to be told that they're wrong, we've even seen examples of them at schools being told actually that you're toxic growing up if you embrace your masculinity. Do you think that's part of the problem?
It's more the liberal left, exactly what you've said. That's responsible for this issue because young boys don't know who they are anymore. Yeah. When I was young, you had these masculine role models and there was nothing wrong with them at all whatsoever. There were elements of masculinity that were problematic, and rather than just get rid of that, it was let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's one of the issues. But it's come from this kind of liberal left. Some of it is understandable because obviously women have been discriminated against for so long, so it was, right in the pendulum, but it went too far. But blaming Islam again,
I don't necessarily agree with that step. I mean, I have much criticism, but I don't agree with that step. I think we have just reached this point with men where we've told our boys for so long that they're bad, they're toxic, that they're a threat to women. We've told them that women don't need them, women are brilliant, women can achieve everything. We've done it in cartoons, we've done it in books. Every message that these young boys get is that you're actually quite worthless and women are fantastic. And I blame feminists for a lot of this, for pushing so hard. And now what's happened is the pendulum, as is inevitable when this happened, has just swung back fast the other way.
All right, Kai, you've got a topic for us to talk about tonight. What would you like to discuss?
I do, and I'm talking about Rachel Reeves. I'm telling Rachel Reeves, please, bet the house on the EU. Now, the Chancellor of the Exchequer is making a bet. She's making a bet that aligning with the EU is the best way to improve people's lives and improve the economy as a result. If it improves people's lives, she thinks that the UK, much changed in 2016, will actually accept that. Now, it's not a big if. Even the most hardened Brexiteers accept the reality. They're not deluded. The costs are well established. The OBR says that 4% of GDP is the impact on our economy that leaving the EU has had, and the benefits are laughable. Even sovereignty, which was that most sacred of Brexit dividends, has been shown in the last few weeks to be totally for the birds as Donald Trump dictates our foreign policy. But alignment doesn't go far enough, right? As often with this government, it's at risk of doing too little, too late. They've got all these red lines, custom union, the single market. All of those should be ripe for consideration because all the measures we're negotiating now with the EU, they're worth about 1.3% of the UK's GDP.
Woohoo!
So go for the big prize. No.
Woohoo!
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm getting you wrong. Yeah. Right. Should you go further? further in alignment with the EU. We're going to rejoin the custom union. And the big prize is there for the taking.
I thought you might agree.
The big prize is there for the taking.
What a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the global economy is worth far more to us than the tiny, non-growing, dying European Union, which is absolutely flatlining like our country is, because we are still massively aligned with the EU on most things, by the way. So you can still attach our economy to the EU. And let's face it, even the Labour Party, even Keir Starmer doesn't want to go back into the EU because he sees the future of these trade deals that we've done are going to outweigh. Otherwise, we'd be having a referendum on the EU, which I'm sure he wants to do. But the reality is the EU is not growing. It has no innovation. It's tied up in regulations and red tape, literally choking it. It's now the place where you go to kill AI companies, not to grow them, which is the fastest growing technology industry in the world. And Britain is surviving more outside of it because we haven't got those rules.
Yes, and we're going to tie ourselves to their net zero carbon stuff, which is going to further cripple the tech industry, because what do they need more than anything? Cheap energy, which we can possibly offer them, but not once we're tied to the EU, because we do deals outside of the EU. The other thing that they're doing is the reason that people on the left want this, Kai, is because what you want is open borders, mass migration, cheap labour that's going to keep people in poverty, while the European kids come over here, take all the cheap jobs, stay for a couple of years, and then go back, while our kids cannot get jobs.
How can you say that? How can you say that when the Boris wave, so-called, is all non-EU migrants? Hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands.
You're right, it's a complete disaster.
So the idea that Brexit gave us sovereignty, control of our borders, that being closer to the EU would make things worse.
Just think about what you just said, Kai. Think about what you just said. Brexit gave us sovereignty. It did. It's how the sovereignty was used that was the problem. We did get full levers as to how many immigrants we can bring in and out of the country. That is a fact. We did get sovereignty. The Boris, as we've all criticised many times, decided to pull the lever in the other direction.
This is the key point. It is an oft-repeated statement by this stage, but it still needs to be said. There still has not been a government run this country that actually believes in Brexit after the Brexit vote, and there won't be until at least 2029. We cannot judge the effectiveness of the Brexit project until you have a government that actually wholeheartedly believes in actually implementing it.
That is nonsense. The idea that somebody like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who was in charge of exiting the European Union, in charge of all those Brexit dividends, doesn't believe in a full, fat Brexit.
Trey?
I want to ask you guys this, and by the way, it's a hard one for me because I think the EU definitely could have done with better leadership. And that shows you that I'm not just like Lib Dem and everything. But but honestly, do you guys think we have autonomy since we come out of the... Genuinely speaking.
No one is saying that...
Because that was one of the main things.
No one is saying that the deal that they did was the deal that we wanted. They tried to fudge it because nobody expected the result. Nobody is saying that. But should a government come in who wants to do what the people wanted, the scope is there.
But do you still think that would give us autonomy? Because at the moment, it still looks like we're having to do whatever the big powers want us to do, like the United States, for instance.
That's the
so
problem.
Where's this autonomy coming from? No, but I am saying one of the things was let's get out and let's re-grab our sovereignty and the rest of it, but we haven't, have we?
Well, that takes a very long time to redo all the trade deals after we're basically getting a divorce with the EU. And I think most sensible people knew that Brexit was a 10-year, 20-year programme that would set Britain up very successfully for the future, as every other country in the world operates and as a single in its own market and with other countries in cooperation with them. We could do the same thing. I think this upholding of the EU by it's a very ideological thing. It is a closed single market when we could be trading with the world and the EU at the same time, and I think that is far better if you're a free market capitalist than anything else.
It's also failed superstate.
You're up next, Trey. What have you got?
So I'm going to be talking about why we should be cancelling the state visit. You want me to go straight into this?
Not yet. No, you're going to be coming up in just a moment.
In for a treat.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Lots of thoughts and comments coming in. I will read some out for you in the next hour, but I want to see some more Ask the Fives. We haven't had any really come through, just a couple. So put an Ask the Five question to this fantastic panel. We'll be getting to that at 8 o'clock, but speaking up next is Trey.
Yes, 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 right. Let me be clear before I even start. I'm not one of those rabid anti-Trump people, someone that hates Trump. In fact, I actually thought Trump would come in and actually put an end to all of these endless wars that never stopped. You know, I really thought it'd be the American president to do that, you know. But that's precisely why our state visit from our king shouldn't happen. It feels deeply wrong. You know, we're watching another war unfold involving Iran. People are dying. There's no clear exit strategy. And to be honest, you can't even call this war legal. At the moment like this, sending the British monarch in for a ceremonial visit looks like we are actually endorsing what is happening now. And that's awful. There's also the diplomatic reality that President Trump was at loggerheads against our own Prime Minister. And don't forget these other choice things like, you know, President that dissed our troops, spoke about annexing Greenland, threatened us with tariffs, and the list goes on. And then there's the other thing, the elephant in the room, the ongoing unresolved Epstein issues, which threaten to bring down our monarchy. I would say now is a very, very bad time for our king to go. We should postpone it forever.
Thank you very much, Trey. What kind of damage do you think it would do further, Kai, if we cancelled the state visit to America?
Yeah, I'm on the fence about this one, for once. Because on the one hand, one of the great things about a monarch, and I'm not a huge fan of the monarchy, but one of the good things is it separates the state, the headship of the state, so, you know, needing to run for election and so on, with the daily politics of it. So there's sort of a virtue in King Charles being completely separate from politics. That's sort of not been the case with him, right? But equally, I sort of think that Trump will take this as a diplomatic win. And it does risk making King Charles look stupid, complicit, or you never know what could unfold. So I'm not sure. However, one thing you can say about Trump is that he's very thin-skinned. He doesn't like being insulted, and he certainly likes the royal family. He has a great kinship with the UK. So I think there's a strong argument to say we should take the high road, actually, Trey, and say, no, the cultures that we share are much more important than one president.
Really?
I think we've already seen the power, the soft power that the royal family has, especially when it comes to Trump. He's completely obsessed by the UK monarchy. We're in a difficult situation, whichever way you feel about this war. I think Kai is right that the way to go here is to send the people that could actually bring Trump on side with us and help us develop that relationship back to where it used to be.
Well, not much to add to what Renee said. If you choose not to go, then you are condemning the UK to a future of total irrelevance. The royal family is pretty much the only vestige of soft power that the country has left. This would be the wrong call to postpone it.
Yeah, and as well, it would be using the royal family like political football. I think there are only very, very specific occasions where we should, to an ally, and whatever you think of Trump or whether you disagree or like the war, Trey, whatever you think of that, doesn't separate our duties to be close with our allies, particularly someone like America who does protect us. If we lost America's protection, we'd be in very, very big trouble right now with the state of our military. So I think there is maybe if the Prime Minister doesn't go over there, that might be good for relations, but I think the King should use his soft power.
Like I say, I'm not one of these people that hates Trump, and I don't understand people that hate Trump, because I think a lot of what's happening with Trump is not even necessarily him directing a lot of this stuff. He's just listening to people. He's told that this war could be done into... But don't you think it's bad timing, though?
No.
But you said postponed forever.
Perfect.
I would, if I could, I would just not
you don't get to have it
go, right? But I know that the pressure against the King will be a lot, so I can be pragmatic. But you don't think the timing's a little bit bad? We're talking the end of April.
I think it's perfect timing.
But it's never worked, has it, Renee? I mean, this is the thing, is that there's been this discussion about how to deal with Trump. And our softly approach using the royal family, it hasn't worked.
All right, listen, we've got loads more coming up for you. Trigger Tantrums is going to be on its way. We've got our bunch of 5 as well. And at 9 o'clock, I'm bringing you a special report on globalising the Intifada. Has it begun, and is Britain on the list? That's special from 9 p.m, but I will see you all in just a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any showers should clear away across England and Wales through the course of this evening, but we will see further rain pushing into the north and the west overnight, and that's courtesy of this next frontal system. The isobars also tightening together, so we'll see the winds strengthen, spells of rain pushing eastwards on Sunday and then turning colder behind this cold front. But actually out there this evening, clear skies will allow temperatures to fall away quite quickly, so a fairly widespread frost across many parts of England and Wales, at least for a time. Out towards the north and west, though, it does turn much cloudier and breezier. We'll see gales developing across the west of Scotland later in the night, although those strong southerly winds will actually lift temperatures, so a frost-free start to the day here. Out towards eastern parts of England, though, is where we like to see the lowest temperatures to begin the day on Sunday. So a fairly widespread frost first thing in the countryside. But here we should see plenty of sunshine to begin the day. A lovely bright start to Mothering Sunday for many. We run into much thicker cloud, though, across the Midlands, Wales, northern England. Outbreaks of rain here, quite persistent in places. A little bit of snow across the highest ground of Scotland as well. But fairly unpleasant driving conditions with some fairly brisk south to southwesterly winds here. And as we go through the course of the day, any brightness across the East Anglia and South East will fade away, with cloud amounts thickening here and some showery rain through the afternoon. The rain mostly across the Midlands, northern England and down towards the southwest, though, through the middle part of the day, and then frequent blustery showers and sunny spells following to many other northwestern parts of the UK as we go through the afternoon. Some hail, some thunder mixed in, and certainly some snow across the higher ground, with temperatures falling down to 6 or 7 degrees by the end of the day. Some ice and some snow around across more northern parts of the UK to begin the day on Monday, but then further wet, windy and milder conditions spread up from the southwest through the day. The rain quite patchy in the south, but more prolonged further north. By Tuesday and Wednesday, though, high pressure will start to build, and for most, that does mean a much warmer and sunnier outlook. Bye for now.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could be the proud owner of a brand new Benivan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, everybody. It's going to be a big show tonight. I can feel it in the air. If you've been watching so far, you know it's going to be a big one. I'm Alex Armstrong, of course, alongside Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
I'll be dismantling Kai in the Saturday Scrap.
We'll bring you this week's High Fives.
Hey, is this not a free speech America?
What is triggering everyone this week? Sorry if you had some bad language there.
And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five.
And what on earth is this new trend in modern dating?
OK, it's 7 o'clock. This is Saturday 5. Yes, welcome to the Saturday 5. Yeah, apologies again if you had some naughty language there. But there we go. There wasn't naughty language there. Someone said something else and I misheard it. Perhaps if I misheard it, you might have misheard it at home. There was no naughty language, OK? Listen, we've got a really big show lined up for you this hour because we'll be, of course, reading out lots more of your comments, but we've got triggered tantrums. I love triggered tantrums. It's one of the funniest parts of the show where lefties are constantly having meltdowns all around the world, so we'll be digging into that. Of course, send your views in gbnews.com/your say. But before this panel continues tearing each other apart, your Saturday night news is coming up first with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you and good evening. It's 1 minute past 7. Your top story this hour. President Donald Trump has called on the UK and other nations to join the US in sending ships to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. It's after Trump said US strikes have obliterated military targets on Kog Island, Iran's main oil export terminal. Iran has retaliated, targeting one of the Middle East's largest oil storage facilities in the UAE. The drone was intercepted but still hit the site, causing a fire, and some operations have been suspended. Israel is continuing to attack Lebanon. At least 12 medics have been killed in overnight strikes there. Meanwhile, the US Embassy in Baghdad has told its citizens to leave Iraq immediately after an overnight Iranian attack on its building, which killed 3 members of Iraq's military. The Chancellor is preparing to offer targeted support to protect poorer households from rising energy bills. The cost of heating oil has soared by 80% in a week following the global impact of the war in the Middle East. Speaking to the Times newspaper, Rachel Reeves said the Treasury is looking at different options to help the most vulnerable when the current price cap expires in June. In other news, a woman has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a baby died when it fell from a height in central London. Officers attended Horseferry Road this morning and the baby, aged just 18 days old, was taken to hospital where she sadly was pronounced dead. A 43-year-old woman was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder. She was taken into police custody where she remains. The Met has asked witnesses to come forward. Elsewhere, West Midlands Police have issued an urgent appeal for information after a man was found dead in a wheelie bin in Coventry. The man, who has not yet been identified, was found by a member of the public in Cash's Park yesterday evening. It's believed he may have been hit by a vehicle before being moved to the park. The man is thought to be aged between 40 and 50. And a Labour council has been criticised for spending £3.8 million on a 197-metre cycle lane. That's according to reports in The Telegraph. The route in Plymstock in Devon has been branded a waste of money by residents who are demanding the scheme be scrapped. Plymouth City Council plans to drill through a disused railway tunnel to create the lane, which will link 2 existing bicycle routes. However, critics have branded the scheme a vanity project and predict it will not be widely used. An average of only 11 cyclists a day use the current route. That's according to data disclosed by a Freedom of Information request. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Your Saturday evening is just getting started. I'm Alex Armstrong, and I can promise you're going to have a very lively hour this hour. If the last hour is anything to go by, trust me. Should we crack on with tonight's main event, though? It's the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Saturday Scrap, and it's been revealed that all serving soldiers were surveyed on woke gender policy changes, even as the war in Iran rages on. They were asked this: should rules on makeup should be gender-free, and whether hair and jewellery policies should be the same for men, women, and non-binary personnel. How many non-binary personnel do we have?
There shouldn't be any in the army.
Well, that's what led us to ask this. Is Britain still a serious military force? Seconds out, it's round 1.
As an aside, there's a joke that goes around America that says when you start seeing young white men in military recruitment ads, you know that a war is imminent because it's time to get serious. The brutal fact, ladies and gentlemen, and I take no joy in saying what I'm about to say. I look back longingly on the days of the British Empire. I think on balance it is one of the greatest forces for good that the world has ever seen. But those days of a strong and powerful United Kingdom military that actually did good all around the world are long behind us. You can see that through the raw facts. You can see that the regular army has shrunk from nearly 110,000 troops in 2010 to 73,000. It's gone down from over 75% since 1959, 566,000 to 142,000. It's struggling to keep troops. It has a retention crisis. And then if you look at the sheer numbers around the Navy and the military when it comes to machinery, it is staggering. The majority of the Army's armoured vehicles are about 30 to 60 years old. The British Army only has 14 14 long-range artillery guns, fewer than the tiny state of Estonia. The Navy, once the pride and jewel of the English armed forces, has fallen from 51 at the time of the Gulf War to just 18, perhaps 13 by some accounts. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The real reason that the UK military is no longer a strong force is because this country no longer knows what it stands for on the world stage. And you could see that so clearly with Keir Starmer's dithering response to the war in Iran, where he initially said that they had nothing to do with it, and then about 3 or 4 days later you were seeing Trump-esque TikTok videos of jets flying off to the Middle East. A country that doesn't know what it stands for cannot be entrusted to fight for what it believes in. And unfortunately, that is the state that the United Kingdom finds itself in.
Yeah, I'm here to defend wokery and actually inclusivity, allowing people to serve no matter what they look like, what they dress like, is exactly what we stand for, Will. And the fundamentals are certainly unchanged. The UK ranks 6th in the global firepower list. It's one of a small elite club that has a nuclear deterrent that is independent. Only one of very few countries on the UN Security Council. It's in the Five Eyes Partnership. It's in AUKUS. It's part and parcel of an international security order that places it right at the very top of the food chain. But let's be real. There is a shrinking, I hope not, a shrinking fleet, a depleted army, and it can't meet all its NATO commitments. But is gender ideology to blame? No, it most certainly is not. You can blame the Tories for that. But to try and make this a culture war argument when we're fighting a real war really just exposes the right for the charlatans that they are.
You'll notice I actually didn't talk about gender ideology. Be more adaptable on your feet, Kyle.
The story that we're reacting to is about gender ideology.
The thing which I think you will notice, which Kai's argument brings out, is that all of his examples were historical references. The Security Council, the nukes, all of this are relics from the past, which unfortunately no longer are relevant in what is a crumbling international rules-based order. Here's the thing. When the Iran war happened, all that Trump asked for was to use UK military bases and perhaps a bit of rhetorical support. And we struggled to even provide that. That one ship, which I think was about to head off to the Middle East, I don't believe it ever really got there. We can't even do the most basic of military exercises on the world stage to support our bigger allies like the United States. Unfortunately, the United Kingdom no longer has any real relevance in this current crisis, or indeed any real relevance when it comes to being able to protect its own borders, as we've seen with the influx of illegal migrants entering the country, which if the Navy had any sort of gumption, they could stop.
Final word, Kai.
I just don't understand. I don't know if... really? The UN Security Council is no small thing, Will. A nuclear deterrent that still exists is not historical reality. It's what happens right now. The UK is taken seriously in part for its military strength and also in part for the soft power that we spent quite a few minutes discussing earlier with the visit of the King to the US. We still matter. It still matters that the UK sends its jets to fly over the Middle East in support of our allies. It still matters that today President Donald Trump has asked us to support by sending a carrier group.
All right, let's bring this out to the rest of the panel here. I've seen a message in your say from Lee. Lee says we don't even officially have an army. An army is over 100,000 troops. I believe that is somewhat correct. At least historically speaking, an army would have to be over 100,000 strong, and less than that would be a home defence force, I think is what it used to be called. Renee, has Britain lost its way militarily? And I don't just mean with all the woke rubbish, I mean, but also with our dilapidating state of our affairs. Look at HMS Dragon, it's been bobbing around in the Channel for a few days.
I think what we've seen with this since this Iran war broke out is we've actually seen that Britain is no longer a force in anything, be it manufacturing, be it in education, be it in the army. Grumpy Grandad says, as an old soldier, it breaks my heart to see our forces dwindle down to a force that couldn't even defend its own nation if needed.
Sad.
It leaves us vulnerable at home and abroad. And, you know, your whole point, Kai, about inclusivity is a load of nonsense, because when you join the army, you know that you're going to have to wear a uniform, get up at a certain time, do certain exercises, behave by the rules. You know, having blue hair, earrings, makeup, load of nonsense. Get over yourself. and do what you're there to do.
I forgot that people with blue hair can't wake up.
Trey, you've seen the events unfold, whatever you think of the war, and I know you don't agree with it, but when you look at our reaction to the war, and when we did start to mobilise our military, do you think it was embarrassing, and do you think it said something about Britain?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, you had ships in dry dock, isn't it? You got about 4 or 5 that state of the art, not much. But I think when I look at this incredible nation, we're a bit like Mike Tyson a little bit, isn't it? That once great champion, and it hasn't been since the Second World War that we had a bit of that power. We've never really recovered. I mean, look at some of the figures here. Welfare and pensions, 300 billion. Health, 180 billion. We only spend 50 to 60 billion a year on the armed forces. Where would you guys take the money from? We just can't afford it.
Welfare and benefits.
But that's what I mean. So it becomes a political football. It's so hard. A once glorious empire. The empire's not there anymore. The money's not there anymore. The political will isn't there anymore. And that would happen
What
to
about those
anybody.
million young people claiming benefits and not working? Join the army.
Again, where's the political will? I'd put them in the army today if I could.
have to pay them as well. The problem is that our priorities in government have been wrong for so long. We've actually what I was saying the other night is we've actually priced in peace as a guarantee that we are going to be kept out of war, and that is the failure of multiple governments who have basically said, don't worry, America will defend us if something happens. And this is what Donald Trump's been very critical, and rightfully critical, of NATO countries for so long, is that we have just said, don't worry, if something happens, America's going to come to our aid. That is true today. We can't even defend our military bases. They have been coming under attack from Hezbollah, from Iran, and at that point in time, Britain should show its enemies that we will respond. Even if we respond in kind with a drone back that way, we need to show that we're not going to be bullied, and we've proven we can be bullied.
Did it not feel to you, that whole saga over Cyprus, that we didn't want to defend our military base?
Seemed like it.
Wasn't even calm.
And the Cypriots, by the way, there's a big grouping of Cypriots that want that base taken away from the island, and they will now have a good reason to say, you won't defend our country and your base was under attack, which puts them at risk. That's very embarrassing. Will, we've also seen in GBNews exclusive reports that Argentina is getting rearmed. They are very close to President Trump. It'd be exceptionally worrying now that we would not be able to win in a fight over the Falkland Islands.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I actually said to Renee in the green room before the show, if the Argentinians were to rally around a junta and dump some loony military generals on the Falkland Islands today, would the United Kingdom fight for them?
And we weren't sure.
And I'm not convinced that the country would today, and I think that's a tragedy.
And just as worryingly, I don't know whether Donald Trump would take our side at this point in time.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't think he would.
No, and I believe that's partially our fault for not supporting them. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I hope it doesn't. I don't think the Argentinians will do it. They've still got a lot of problems to solve. But it does make you ask these questions. Can we defend our bases abroad? No. Do we support our allies in those bases, despite, Chagos? No. And when it comes to looking at our overseas territories, well, we're giving them away at cost to our own taxpayer, and then we're still looking like, if there was an invasion of the Falklands today, that we might not even bother defending them, Carl.
And it's a sad thing. Sorry,
No, look, I agree. And I think, weirdly, the Iran war...
What would you take money away from to up defence spending?
Welfare.
Yeah.
Weirdly, the Iran war and just the ongoing realisation on the left and the right that hard power in this world right now really matters a hell of a lot more than it has in the last few decades. Maybe that will actually force MPs to realise what they need to do.
Hard power has always existed. It's just that America has not flexed that muscle for a very long time. And I think the reality is that most of us have been brought up in a time of peace, where we were post-Cold War, most of us, I was to say most of our adult lives at least, and we haven't thought that war is going to come to our doorstep. And I think we're seeing
I agree. As much as I wasn't a Thatcherite back then, my dad was, but there was something proud, though, about sending this task force all the way halfway around the world to defend the Falklands. I think it's sad that we don't have that capability, I have to admit.
Yeah, Will, would you worry when you see someone like Putin, for example, or it could be any of our adversaries around the world, and we don't respond? We've had quite a few attacks on our military bases or aimed at them. Do you think that sends a signal that Britain is completely finished as a powerful nation?
Yeah, I think it does. I think whenever you take those sorts of pacifist-type responses, it will send a very clear message. I think that's something which Trump has been very good at in the United States, is to demonstrate US hard power, and ultimately the peace through strength mantra which Trump has championed will always be the most effective way to govern world affairs.
Yeah, it's just I agree, it is realism. It is the same way that if you believe in science, when we go back to our state of nature, when we were, running around as apes, essentially, we would be a territorial territorial battle. Yeah, it's a territorial battle. It's always been that way. It's just part of our DNA. We are territorial people as a species, and we will always fight each other for dominance. And I think this is the problem with the left. Sometimes have forgotten that human nature is inherently violent. And we're not going to sit. If there was no government tomorrow, we wouldn't all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We'd start killing each other.
You would like to think we've evolved from caveman days.
You'd like to, but we haven't.
Surely.
We haven't. No, but you haven't.
Surely we have.
No, but the reality is,
it's not caveman days, is it? It's Vikings, and it's the Normans, and it's the French invading us.
And it's the Nazis.
I do push back a little bit, guys, though. I do think you're underestimating us. I don't think Putin would just attack us thinking Britain is weak. I don't think we're weak. I think we would go at him like full tilt. I don't agree with that.
Without 27 soldiers?
Doesn't matter. We're still a nuclear power, and we would still retaliate if it came to this. I think there's nothing wrong when it comes to some of these wars, never forever war in the Middle East. I actually, like I said last week, I support Starmer in that. I think that's good. But I don't think a country can just waltz in here and think they can just take over this great country. It's never going to happen.
Well, just to come back on the caveman thing, interestingly, Trey, you might like this. The modern brain, scientists say, hasn't actually changed for 35,000 years.
A lot has changed. No. We have laws, for instance. They didn't have laws.
OK.
We have learned from mistakes. So much of the post-World War II...
You're right, but are those laws being obeyed now in action?
Well, I certainly hope so.
By Putin?
It's what keeps us all here.
No.
Less so Vladimir Putin.
By Donald Trump as well?
By Trump, no, he is ripping up
the Chinese,
the international rules of how we operate.
But that's the point, isn't it? The international rules, who enforces them? It's the superpower of the day. And therefore, because now we're moving to a multi-power, superpower world, those international rules are going to be violated constantly. And what Trump's saying and what Trump's demonstrating is that, actually, I don't care about your rules, I enforce them, therefore I'll do what I want. That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's an autocrat, Alex, as you know.
But Americans have been doing this way before Donald Trump. We did this with Afghanistan, with Iraq, Vietnam. But it's not like Donald Trump is anything new.
But I think what the next few years will show us is that approach of ignoring all rules and hard power is the only thing that matters will come back to bite them.
I agree.
Because the fact is, the recession that we're going to see, if this continues until the summer, the impact on real people in the US, not Donald Trump, I'm sure, maybe at the ballot box if it happens, but the real impact will be felt by ordinary people. It'll be felt by ordinary people here as well. Like, he doesn't know what he's unleashed, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
All right, there you have it. Still to come tonight, though. I should have warned you about that. I'm so sorry. Still to come, it's this week's Triggered Tantrums, and it looks like it's going to be a good one. But first, we'll discuss the latest updates on the Iran war.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, everybody. Please get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay. And while you're there, get your questions in for Ask the 5 too. We need more of those coming in so Renee and the gang can hand it over tonight. Renee's just pointed one out to me. Can I read this one? Can you?
I can read it.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet.
The British Patriot. I would say that the lefties have regressed since the cavemen, actually. At least the cavemen looked after their own and did not allow thousands upon thousands of possible enemy combatants into their homes.
It's a fair point. There you go. We'll read some more of these out over the next hour or two, but I'd like to get on to our next topic because it has been a wild 24 hours in the conflict in Iran, as the US has said it's obliterated Iranian oil supplies on Karg Island, an island that none of us had ever heard of before, frankly, until today. Well, at least I hadn't. And in the last few moments, President Trump has posted this on Truth Social. He says the United States of America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily, economically, and in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Strait of Hormuz must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot, in capital letters. The United States will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be. It will bring the world together toward harmony, security and everlasting peace. President Donald J. Trump. Well, there you have it. Strong words from Trump as ever. Of course, Iran has retaliated, targeting one of the Middle East's largest oil storage facilities in the UAE. The drone was intercepted but still hit the site, causing a fire, and some operations have been suspended. And I'm very pleased to welcome former Royal Navy officer James Garter to the studio. James, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's a pleasure to join you, Alex.
It's our pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. James, can I ask you this? President Trump is saying it should be a team effort. Now, of course, Britain's role in this has been very questionable over the last few weeks. We have dithered here, dithered there. HMS Dragon is now on its way to Cyprus, to the Mediterranean. Have we been coordinating with the Americans throughout this, realistically, despite what Trump says? And what should Britain's role be?
Well, I think the first and most important thing to point out is that we coordinate with the Americans every day, regardless of what actions they're taking. I think the second point to point out is that it's rather rich to ask your allies to become involved in a conflict that you've started of your own accord after you've started it without informing them as to your end goals, or indeed anyone.
Indeed. And James, HMS Dragon, there's been a lot of criticism about HMS Dragon. Some people were saying today that it was bobbing around in the Channel. You, of course, a former Royal Navy officer, will understand how these things work. Tell us a little bit more about that story. What's your take on it?
Well, I don't agree with the phraseology that was used in The Sun of bobbing around in the Channel. It's really not as simple as that. The ship is not just sat alongside, fully worked up, ready to go at a moment's notice. These things are complex evolutions. That ship was in a maintenance period, and it was brought out at very short notice and prepared over 6 days and then deployed. Now, what that means is that that ship, which last went to sea in December, has a ship's company that might, for example, have a few gaps in it, individuals with specific specialist roles that aren't available at any one point in time. And maybe those individuals didn't deploy with the ship, and maybe they had to be joining off Plymouth. These are all operational realities of deploying a complex warship with over 200 personnel on board. So far as HMS Dragon is concerned, you know, the fact that we took so long to deploy her isn't really an issue for the Royal Navy. It's an issue for the nation. And it's a result of more than 30 years of decline. I mean, if you think, when I joined the Navy in 2001, we had 32 frigates and destroyers. And today, officially, we have 12. In reality, we have 4. 2 destroyers and 2 frigates. And we have more commitments than those ships allow us to fulfil. So it's understandable from that extent that the Royal Navy didn't have a ship available at a moment's notice.
James, has the decimation of our our armed forces, our Royal Navy and so on, been really the cause of this crisis here for the government? I would totally agree with your assessment that this is a tiny, tiny size for such a powerful nation. Would you blame that instead of government dithering, perhaps? They're just trying to figure out where to play the very limited pieces on the chessboard that we have.
Well, I think the most important point to point out is that, the size of our Navy is not an electoral issue. You go and canvass on the doorstep, and people won't be saying to you, I want more frigates, I'd like an aircraft carrier, please. They'll say, I'd like another hospital, I'd like more police on the streets. And for that simple reason is the reason that we've salami-sliced our Navy down to the point that we're just at that clip at the end. And fundamentally, that's where we are. But the cause of this crisis, I mean, the crisis, geopolitically speaking, is Donald J. Trump. When we don't know the end of that crisis, wars in that part of the world tend to be easy to start and very hard to end. So it's a strange course of action for an individual who's self-declared not wishing to get into forever wars. He seems to have found himself in the oldest forever war in the world.
James, a final question for you. In Trump's statements there on Truth Social, he basically called for a coalition of countries to defend the Strait of Hormuz for oil reasons. Do you think that, I guess perhaps a better question, what role would Britain play in this if we do decide to send anything there to defend the Strait?
Well, the direct answer to your question, Alex, is escorting merchant ships through the Strait of Hormuz. And for those that don't know, the Straits of Hormuz are a 24-mile at its narrowest point area south of Bandar Abbas through which everything has to pass to get into the Gulf. That matters to every single one of your viewers because 20% of the world's gas and 25% of the world's oil pass through that choke point, which is why historically the Royal Navy has always had a ship in that part of the world. In fact, the ship that we have had there most recently is sitting decommissioned at the Naval Support Facility in Bahrain. So the role that we would fulfil with our available 4 frigates and destroyers would be to assist a coalition of forces at escorting merchant vessels and protecting them. Now, that's a hard task because we'd need to control the 3 domains, the domain in the air, the surface and under the surface. And at the present time, even with the combined might of the greatest armed forces in the world, that of the United States of America, those 3 things are not assured because, for example, we've had 20 attacks on merchant ships since the beginning of the month, notwithstanding the might of the Americans. So this matters to absolutely everybody. It will mean higher prices in the shops, higher prices in the pumps. Whether we are involved in offensive action or not, we must become involved in defending our interests worldwide.
James Garter, former Royal Navy officer, thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Really appreciate that. Let me bring this over to you, Will. Do you think Britain should be sending, be part of this coalition to defend the Strait of Hormuz?
I don't think it should do any more than what it has said it will do, because I don't think, from what James just said, that the UK Navy and the armed forces more generally really have the capacity to offer a great deal more than what has already been said. That's the tragedy of letting the armed forces depreciate so much over recent years. But it would be nice to, I think, hear more rhetorical support for the US. I do think that this is the right thing to do to take down this evil regime. But again, I think the UK is limited.
Renee, there was a recent YouGov poll that showed that defence has shot up by 10% in the interest of the British public in terms of what they would like the government to prioritise. Is now one of the most important things. Have things like this, actually, this war, made British people wake up and go, we cannot rely on everyone else to look after our country. We need to invest in our armed forces again?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, the light has been shone on what we have defending us, and it's been seen as actually not up to doing that job. So once you've done that, people suddenly think, well, hang on, the world looks like a pretty volatile place at the moment. We could go into a war. I don't mind my money being spent there.
What do you think, Trey?
God, I think we should be talking about de-escalating this, not actually escalating it, 'cause that's probably what's going to start happening. You start putting warships, and it might be 24 miles, but the actual part which they navigate in is only a couple of miles. You can't even stop the Houthis and what they've got, let alone stop the Iranians. I think things will just get worse and worse. I think it should be de-escalation. I think it should be diplomacy, should be what we're looking at. But the one good thing about it, because I do agree with Will, once this is over, and I do hope it's over soon, we can look at the state of our armed forces and we can actually make difficult choices. Welfare, we're going to take a bit of that. That's pretty much where we're going to be. Okay. But right now, de-escalate.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Still to come tonight on the show, though.
Are you saying you're not in a monogamous relationship? One-sided monogamy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right, Trick or Tantrums is coming up very shortly. But next up, it's Bunch of Five. That's a bit of a different take of the stories of the week. See you in 2.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's unsettled across the Alps at the moment. Could see around a metre of snow falling through this weekend. Meanwhile, we do have some showery rain affecting both the Canaries and also Madeira. There's a bit of rain pushing into northern Portugal and Spain, but it's across western Mediterranean parts where we have rough seas, heavy rain affecting Corsica, Sardinia and Sicily, for example, and also showery rain affecting much of Italy as well. But into next week, for many, it's actually looking largely fine. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any showers should clear away across England and Wales through the course of this evening, but we will see further rain pushing into the north and the west overnight, and that's courtesy of this next frontal system. The isobars also tightening together, so we'll see the winds strengthen, spells of rain pushing eastwards on Sunday and then turning colder behind this cold front. But actually out there this evening, clear skies will allow temperatures to fall away quite quickly, so a fairly widespread frost across many parts of England and Wales, at least for a time. Out towards the north and west, though, it does turn much cloudier and breezier. We'll see gales developing across the west of Scotland later in the night, although those strong southerly winds will actually lift temperatures, so a frost-free start to the day here. Out towards eastern parts of England, though, is where we like to see the lowest temperatures to begin the day on Sunday. So a fairly widespread frost first thing in the countryside, but here we should see plenty of sunshine to begin the day. A lovely bright start to Mothering Sunday for many. We run into much thicker cloud, though, across the Midlands, Wales, northern England. Outbreaks of rain here, quite persistent in places. A little bit of snow across the highest ground of Scotland as well, but fairly unpleasant driving conditions with some fairly brisk south to southwesterly winds here. And as we go through the course of the day, any brightness across the East Anglia and South East will fade away, with cloud amounts thickening here and some showery rain through the afternoon. The rain mostly across the Midlands, northern England and down towards the southwest, though, through the middle part of the day, and then frequent blustery showers and sunny spells following to many other northwestern parts of the UK as we go through the afternoon. Some hail, some thunder mixed in, and certainly some snow across the higher ground, with temperatures falling down to 6 or 7 degrees by the end of the day. Some ice and some snow around across more northern parts of the UK to begin the day on Monday, but then further wet, windy and milder conditions spread up from the southwest through the day. The rain quite patchy in the south, but more prolonged further north. By Tuesday and Wednesday, though, high pressure will start to build, and for most, that does mean a much warmer and sunnier outlook. Bye for now.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to culture war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5, gbnews.com/your say. That's where you go to get involved in our fiery debates this evening. Don't forget about Ask the 5 at 8 o'clock too. But now, before we get started, it's time for this. Yes, this is Bunch of 5. These are 5 shorter topics on stories that we've noticed throughout the week. Will, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Alex. During the week, MI5 very helpfully offered their vetting services to all political parties for prospective candidates going into the next election, nominally for signs of foreign influence. And interestingly, only Reform has come out to actually say that they would be most interested in MI5 services. Now, I understand that Reform is a new party, that they don't have the operational machinery in place yet to do what is an enormous task of vetting hundreds and hundreds of candidates. But I think this would be a poor decision. I think the quickest way to scare off successful business people or public figures from becoming candidates is to say that we are going to open an MI5 file on you before you even become a candidate. But also, we all know that MI5, like all of the public institutions in this country, has become ideologically captured. We know it will go beyond foreign influence into the more contentious cultural wars issues of the day, and I have no faith that this won't just become a way to scare off people with legitimate views that may be not in keeping with the establishment. And if Reform chooses to say no to it, well, then they're seen to be going against MI5. It's a classic trap.
Kai?
What? No. No. These are the people who keep us safe, who foil these huge terror threats that you talk about, we talk about every week. To say they're captured, that there's some sort of deep state, that Reform shouldn't... The idea that they don't already know the backgrounds of these candidates anyway, if they're just asking parties to get involved with them and to help them out, and Reform certainly needs the help.
For once, I agree with you.
Renee, what have you got?
OK, so this week we found out that a document called Sharing the Journey, Faith Sensitivities, was sent to head teachers in the North to tell them that figurative imagery of humans is considered... Blasphemy for Muslims, that they should start considering to protect their Muslim and other faith pupils. So, for example, they should have single-sex women, not mixed women. But they should also not give children roles in nativity plays that might make them feel uncomfortable. And they shouldn't, in lessons, use drawings of Jesus, because Jesus was actually a prophet for Islam, and that might upset everybody. Well, I'm a Christian. I love drawings of Jesus, and my friend Bernie has a very talented daughter called Isabel Spofforth, and she actually paints Jesus like this. I think we've got a picture here to show everyone.
Beautiful.
That is actually Isabel sitting at the front there.
Talented.
So talented. I've got a Christmas card from Bernie, which is one of Isabel's drawings, and Alice actually has it in her religious part of her playroom, which she...
I need to give Bernie my address so I can get one of these printouts. I really do. Bernie, your daughter is so talented. Isabel, you are an incredible talent.
And you can actually see Isabel's drawing on Bernie's Twitter, which I think is Artemis for now.
That's correct. It is indeed.
So we are a Christian country. We're going to draw Jesus in schools.
OK, we're going to move on to the next topic. Have you heard about George Soros? You know who that man is? Well, he, of course, is a billionaire, and he's been funding campaigns all around the world. And it's been revealed that George Soros' son, who has taken over this firm from his father, has given $23 billion in endowments, in campaign funds, to a group that wants to seek slavery reparations from the United Kingdom to do with colonialism. And, of course, this part of this group is a story that I was talking about on GB News earlier in the week, which is, of course, the African Union leaders who want us all to pay reparations, the same way that they point to Chagos and say that has been very successful. We're going to use those same laws to do that. And I just think if you're on the left and you constantly talk about foreign interference, you've got to start calling out your own side, Kai.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with reparations. I think it's a nonsense. And we should kick out those MPs in the Labour Party who've been working with these people to have a slavery ruling from the ICJ.
What about Deputy Prime Minister said we demand reparations?
Well, no, he's fine.
Caught you.
Do you know what I think is really interesting about this? Soros, if you trace the money and where he puts his money, Soros is one of the main funders of the trans movement across the States and the UK.
Very interesting.
Why? He's a Jewish man, he's a married man, he has children. Or is all of this designed to just break up our family? Does he have morals? What, breaking up the family?
Right, let's move on to the next one. Trey, what have you got for Bunch of 5?
OK, so my Bunch of 5 is the headline, Dubai is finished. Expats say they will leave and never come back. And I think all of this is just being blown out of proportion. I mean, I think it's 90% of Dubai is expats. Some would say migrants, but hey, let's call them expats for now. And I think it's blown out of proportion. I speak to a lot of people in Dubai, and from what I understand in Dubai, it's perfectly safe. Very few people that I know would even dream of coming back. But what I don't like about this, though, these are British people, and the language I'm hearing about them is like, these are all tax dodgers and these wealthy footballers, and they should stay out there, we shouldn't help them. They're still Brits. They paid into the system for so long. But I really just want to say I don't think Dubai is finished in any way, shape or form. It's an incredible place. And I think once this all blows over, I think people will be running right back to the sun, the safety and everything else that Dubai has to offer.
Kai, what have you got for us?
Yeah, the more brain-dead influencers that stay in Dubai, the better. There's a great story, a great study out recently that confirms what many of us have been thinking for a while, that hundreds of millions of people are turning to AI for ideas. But actually, what that means is our language, our way of speaking is becoming homogenized and flattened.
Yeah.
So tone, stylistic diversity, the way people think in the future might all become much more the same. As a free speech channel, we all have very different views. I think we should all really, really be worried about
Can I say, I actually brought this up a really, really long time ago. AI doesn't, not many people are interested in it, but I think it's going to cause a really big problem because not only is it all written in American English and it's going to kill our way of speaking, it will also start creating very, very generic ideological buckets because these AIs are trained on news articles, mostly from places like The Guardian, for example.
Have you noticed on Twitter now that lots of people put really, really long posts that you just know they never used to do it, but now they're generated in AI. I think it's really, really sad. And actually, I've been writing articles for a very long time, and if I put it into AI and say, make this punchy or whatever, I never like it, and I go back to what I've done, because it's not me.
But I think for you have that advantage. For instance, all of a sudden, my wife writes perfect English. And I think that's what's changed. All these people that probably couldn't before, now there's something, and you're right, there's something homogenous about it. I don't like it. But if you're someone like my wife who is English, not a first language,
don't get me wrong,
it's a tool like a calculator. You can't blame it.
Don't get me wrong, AI is a great equaliser for many things, legal stuff, mathematics, for writing. But I think where you are exceptionally well versed in your own language, you should try and write where you can possibly. 100%. I think that's what the argument really is here. All right, look, still to come tonight.
Hey, is this not a free speech America?
That is Trigger Tantrums. Coming up next is my favourite part of the show. Stay tuned. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, I actually looked at the survey and looked at the questions asked, and there are two questions asked. The first is, all things considered, how satisfied are you with life as a whole these days? And the second question asked is the sense of meaning. And you're asked to give a value to, I generally feel that what I do in life is valuable and worthwhile. And on the second question, all parents across the board from all socioeconomic backgrounds answer that life is much more meaningful with children. But in terms of life satisfaction, particularly where it's like with single parents, or if you don't have faith, or if you don't have family support, life can be harder, which is true. So the real question is, how can we support families to really, in the job of raising children, because it's not the having children that's the problem. Children do not ruin your life. They give you so much. It requires a lot of work, but what you get back is so much, and you experience depths of love, enrichment that you don't find normally. So it depends on what you do,
but you've got to be realistic. Kids also cause problems as well. As much as I'm blessed to be a mother of 4. Children are hard work, and people live in a fantasy, and I think that is why there is so much postnatal depression. So much people don't know what's going to hit them. I think people get into this bubble, think they're going to have this child, they're going to travel the world, and it's all going to be bliss. If you're poor, that ain't happening. I think we know many people get divorced because of having kids. Kids do cause happiness, and don't get me wrong, they do give you so much, like you said, enrichment, but on a realistic level, I think they can be hard work. And to me, when I got up to nursery, no mum looks happy. That's just me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up at 8 o'clock, it's Ask the 5. So don't forget to send your questions through to gbnews.com. We all say, and put Ask the 5 in the front of your message so the gang here know exactly who you're asking, what you're asking. That would be very helpful. Couple of comments. Grumpy Grandad on AI has said, AI is brilliant, but you need to take your time with it. Rushing into it won't end well. I worry people already rely on it too much. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Think about the ways that you use it, if you do use it. Particularly kids as well. Particularly kids. OK, let's see here. Porkins says, Dubai, bits medieval with their laws. If you're having a bad day, you can't scream profanities without being locked up. Good point. Which brings us on very nicely to this. Trigger tantrums. Oh, go on, Will. So I thought there's going to be some big thing
well,
there. Will, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Alex. Well, you're right to say that screaming was a nice segue because it was International Women's Day recently, and I'm sure many people at home may be celebrated by saying a quiet, heartfelt thank you to the women that they love in their lives. Some people, however, chose to acknowledge the day somewhat differently. Let's have a look.
And now, I invite you to bounce. Shake it up.
You just can't. I don't know what to say.
Can I
scream? What is this? What is this, Will? What was going on here?
This was an International Women's Day protest in New York, Alex. I thought you were actually asking me to try and get inside the mind of that lady.
I wouldn't
that
do
is
that to you.
above my pay grade.
They were actually celebrating my birthday, which is also on the 8th of March.
Well, I would scream as well.
Thank you, Renee, for your message.
It's not a really good, is it really a good look? Is it really the one to celebrate women on International Women's Day to be, like, screaming? Is it not sort of, like, creating a stereotype?
Yeah.
But these women, they're crazy, aren't they?
Well,
they are absolutely crazy. These are the people that have pushed men away.
Well, they're too hysterical for you, Alex.
It brings back to that comment about Dubai. I can't remember who, I can't find it here now. It was Porkins. Dubai, if you're having a bad day, you can't scream profanities while you'll be locked up. True. Maybe we should think about that.
Good thing. 21 people have been charged with cybercrimes for posting the missiles flying overhead in Dubai.
I saw that.
Yes,
true.
Well,
almost as many as in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
There you go. Renee, what have you got for us?
So, we're hearing all of the time at the moment, especially as women, it's quite grating, that trans rights are human rights. And I've yet had anyone reply to me what rights trans people don't get that every other human in the country gets. And I think this is a great demonstration of what they feel they're missing out on. I'll play you the clip first and then I'll explain.
Hi everyone, it's Emily. I'm here at the Wheaton Mall in Wheaton, Maryland. And despite this store being hiring, they have beautiful dresses. I just went in and asked if I could be hired, and they told me that I couldn't because I'm not a woman, and only a woman can work at that job.
Right, so this job involved helping young girls pick their proms dresses, fit them, help them dress. And this bloke is threatening this store now because his rights are not being honoured, because he says he's a woman, he should be able to have that job. What do you think, Alex?
It's bonkers, isn't it? This whole thing just goes down the pan. It's the same argument that someone could make, well, I should be able to live in a kennel because I identify as a dog. It's not how it works, is it, unfortunately? It's not the reality, Kai. Is it the reality for you?
No.
Do you think he should be able to work in that shop?
I don't know. I don't know the details of the case, Renee. I'm not the hiring manager. It's not my business.
Cop out. Well, cop out.
If only more people decided the same.
What I will say is good on that shop for holding firm, because there have been many examples in the United Kingdom and the United States in similar situations where businesses like that have not done so to the detriment of women and girls.
And the sky didn't fall in, Will.
Well, yeah, but in many instances...
How do you know that?
Almost as if it's an obsession.
Trey, have you got a trigger tantrum for us?
Yes, I do have a trigger tantrum, actually. My trigger tantrum, I think, is how most people are probably feeling at the moment with the sound of the war bells and more money being spent on missiles than it actually being spent on people's welfare. So there's someone having an absolute rant about it. Here's 9 to 5. Let's roll it.
Every day, most of us wake up and go to a job that we really don't like, but we can't really quit because we got to get the money to pay the bills that they say it's important to pay. What the point of this life, man?
You know what? I do have some sympathy with him. I think a lot of our viewers are going to go.
And those bills, especially those energy bills, are going to go through the roof. I mean, I think a lot of people are quite fed up, isn't it? It's been one shock after another, one economic shock after another, and people just feel, what's the point of it?
Yeah, I think it's like terminal decline of the West. This was happening before any wars as well. That's the thing to remember. This has been going on for a really long time. So I think anything that happens now, people are just really angry about. And I totally understand.
Especially the people that are getting up every day, going to work, barely making enough money, and they look at the people in this country and their country who are not doing that and often have more money than them.
Yeah, Will, what do you think?
I think that's just Monday morning vibes. I think regardless of Iran or the economy, I think that's a pretty standard 8 a.m. Monday morning feel.
Yeah, Kai?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it speaks to what we often don't realise. The vast majority of people don't relate to a war halfway across the world. They don't think that Trump does the right thing. They don't like Trump, by the way. I know that some segments of people who watch this channel, or maybe some of you, like Trump, but most people don't. Most people hate him.
Well, he doesn't like you either, actually. Rubbish. We never liked Kai.
Mark here says, time to ditch, ban all religions. They are all nothing more than a man-constructed fairy stories with their sky gods. There you go. Yeah, that's probably like a common theme amongst a lot of British people. We'll share that. We'll share that right. Grumpy Grandad said again, trans rights, they want more rights than everyone else because they're special and they're entitled to it. Didn't you get that memo? Is what Grumpy Grandad said. Well, unfortunately, that does seem to be the case, and it's always people who seem to think they've got something special that they deserve to have more than the rest of us. It's like, no, unfortunately, you've got to share the same rules. You've got to play by the same rules. All right, listen. Coming up next on the Saturday 5 Extra, Ask the 5. Stay tuned for that. Renee is going to be taking over. She's got loads of Ask the 5s to get through, and of course, Christo will be joining the channel. He'll be joining the show here. He'll be taking over from me. I'll be back at 9 o'clock. I've got an exclusive report as to whether or not the globalised intifada that the left have been calling for has indeed begun. Stay tuned. I will see you at 9. Stay tuned for the Saturday 5 Extra.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any showers should clear away across England and Wales through the course of this evening, but we will see further rain pushing into the north and the west overnight, and that's courtesy of this next frontal system. The isobars also tightening together, so we'll see the winds strengthen, spells of rain pushing eastwards on Sunday and then turning colder behind this cold front. But actually out there this evening, clear skies will allow temperatures to fall away quite quickly, so a fairly widespread frost across many parts of England and Wales, at least for a time. Out towards the north and west, though, it does turn much cloudier and breezier. We'll see gales developing across the west of Scotland later in the night, although those strong southerly winds will actually lift temperatures, so a frost-free start to the day here. Out towards eastern parts of England, though, is where we like to see the lowest temperatures to begin the day on Sunday. So a fairly widespread frost first thing in the countryside, but here we should see plenty of sunshine to begin the day. A lovely bright start to Mothering Sunday for many. We run into much thicker cloud, though, across the Midlands, Wales, northern England. Outbreaks of rain here, quite persistent in places. A little bit of snow across the highest ground of Scotland as well, but fairly unpleasant driving conditions with some fairly brisk south to southwesterly winds here. And as we go through the course of the day, any brightness across East Anglia and South East will fade away, with cloud amounts thickening here and some showery rain through the afternoon. The rain mostly across the Midlands, northern England and down towards the southwest, though, through the middle part of the day, and then frequent blustery showers and sunny spells following to many other northwestern parts of the UK as we go through the afternoon. Some hail, some thunder mixed in, and certainly some snow across the higher ground, with temperatures falling down to 6 or 7 degrees by the end of the day. Some ice and some snow around across more northern parts of the UK to begin the day on Monday, but then further wet, windy and milder conditions spread up from the southwest through the day. The rain quite patchy in the south, but more prolonged further north. By Tuesday and Wednesday, though, high pressure will start to build, and for most, that does mean a much warmer and sunnier outlook. Bye for now.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. It's still Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5 Extra, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Dr. Rennie Hundekamp, along with Will Kingston. Christo Fufas has joined us instead of Alex. Welcome.
Hello.
Trey Lowe